I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who has seen or heard of the movie Sixth Sense. Sixth Sense is an M. Night Shyamalan movie, and it was created back in through 1999, 2000. It stars Bruce Willis, a very young Haley Joel Osment, and Toni Collette. This is one of my favorite movies. It is a horror film. Well, it was marketed as a horror film, but it didn't scare me. It gave me more questions and more of why it was happening to Cole, which is played by Haley Joel Osment. So the story behind Sixth Sense is that you have a little boy who is able to see and communicate with ghosts who are earthbound. Bruce Willis's character, who is a doctor in psychology, a child psychiatrist, is there to help him. And Toni Collette plays Cole's mother. So basically this movie is, Bruce Willis trying to help Haley Joel Osment because Bruce Willis has both guilt and regret for a patient that is experiencing the same, that had experienced the same sort of, disturbances as Cole does. And his name was Vincent, and he was played by Donnie Wahlberg, who is well known for his career in the boy band, in the 80s boy band, New Kids on the Block, which are still around. He also just so happens to be the brother of Mark Wahlberg, who is an actor. Now, Donnie Wahlberg is also an actor. He also stars in the show Blue Bloods as the eldest son who is under the under command of Tom Selleck's character, because Tom Selleck just so happens to be the captain of the police department. Man, talk about you gotta represent. In the movie, he plays a mental patient who feels like Bruce Willis's character has failed him. And, he breaks into the house and, basically, the best way I can say is he is no longer with us. At least in the film. And Donnie Wahlberg is still alive. Just in the film, Vincent, his character is no longer with us. No longer in the film's universe. So, Bruce Willis's character feels like he has to make it right. He wants redemption for himself. He feels like he could have done better. So he finds redemption in Cole, which is why he is trying everything he can to help him. Now, for those of you who have seen it, we know the twist at the end. For those of you who haven't seen it, you might want to turn off this video because I'm going to say the twist. And the main twist is Bruce Willis was a ghost the whole time in that movie. But how? It is never explained. There's so many things in that movie that are never explained. We know Cole can see the dead, but it's never explained how or why the dead choose him. He's just able to see them, wrong place, wrong time. I'm pretty sure some of the ghosts, because they live in an apartment, they must have lived there at one point. But there's one little girl that is asking for his help because, unfortunately, the mother played a factor in her untimely death. And this little girl, the ghost of the little girl, was afraid that her sister was going to meet the same fate. So that's why she asked for Cole to help. Which is kind of funny because how did she know Cole would help? And not only that, when Cole and Bruce Willis's character, I don't know, what is the name? I gotta figure this out. 6. So I was right. It was 1999, 2000. I was right. What was his name? Dr. Malcolm. What was it? Dr. Malcolm Crowe, was it? Dr. Crowe, I believe it was. Hang on. Yes, Dr. Crowe. Okay. So, Dr. Crowe wants to help Cole because he thought that Cole was like his other patient, Vincent, schizophrenia. But he later finds out no. Turns out Vincent was not suffering from schizophrenia. He too had the same ability as Cole's does, which is to see and communicate with the ghosts. So the young Kyra, I believe, Kyra, her name was Kara, the little girl ghost that, had unfortunately met her demise by the hand of her own mother. When Cole and Dr. Crowe go to the funeral where Kara's funeral is being held, Cole states, wow, she came a long way. Which is never specifies, again, in that movie, it doesn't specify how or why these ghosts know Cole can see them. It might be a wrong place, wrong time. Who knows? If anything, Cole does go to the hospital because he's not, he doesn't have friends in school. He's basically labeled as the weirdo. He's the outcast of the school. There's one scene where he is invited to a party because the parents made the bully invite him to the party. Cole hears a voice coming from the wardrobe. And basically it's a ghost saying, I did not steal, the horse. I did not steal the horse. So like anyone, he is, showing anxiety and fear of it. And the boys, being mean, push him into that wardrobe and he's screaming and things like that. And he ends up, having, a bit of a meltdown, which causes him to be sent to the hospital, which he tells Dr. Crowe the secret. Hey, I see dead people. They don't know what they're dead. They're just walking around. They think they're still alive, blah, blah, blah. And Dr. Crowe says, when you're awake? He goes, yeah, when I'm awake. So that's when Dr. Crowe realized, okay, I have to help this boy out. But here's the thing, what I'm trying to say of the movie. At no point do we ever know that Dr. Crowe is a ghost until the very end. And M. Night Shyamalan, Mr. Shyamalan, does such a great job. Because it's like, okay, the hospital scene. How did Dr. Crowe know that Cole was in the hospital? The only way to know he's in the hospital is if the mom called him and told him, hey, my son's in the hospital. You might want to go see what happened. Because he won't talk to me. He won't talk to anyone. Another scene was the first ever scene to where we see Dr. Crowe and Cole meet. And when when that happens, he's at the house. And sitting across from him is Cole's mother. And they're just sitting there, and it looks like she's interacted with him, because she says, hey, how you doing, blah, blah, blah. And she goes, I'll be right back. And at one point, it does look like she is looking at Dr. Crowe, at Bruce Willis's character. And Bruce Willis and him and Cole are having, a moment, hey, I can read your mind. Okay, everything I say right, you take a step. And when if I get to the chair, you sit down and we'll talk. If I get something wrong, you take a step back. You can go to your room and go to that. So there's a choice, because they were interacting, and it looked like he was gaining the trust, getting things like that. So in that scene and the hospital scene, it does seem like he was alive. Another pivotal scene was when Cole has a bit of a meltdown in the classroom because of the way people were looking at him. He doesn't like people look at him because he says he feels like a freak. He doesn't like it. And after he, has the little meltdown, he's sent into the principal's office to where Dr. Crow is and, trying to talk to him, shows him a magic trick, hey, you can trust me, kid, you're fine. It seemed like, well, who let him in? Who let him in? I mean, you got a random ghost in the room with a child that's left unsupervised? You would think that, oh no, they let him in because they're his doctor. So, you know what I mean? So there's that. Of course, at the dinner scene, because there's an anniversary dinner, he goes to his wife and is explaining the case to his wife. And the wife seems like she's not having it because, you missed our anniversary, blah, blah, blah. No, missed our anniversary, things like that. And it just seems she's very different. She says, happy anniversary, and just leaves. Sort of like, I've had enough of this. I've had enough. And then there's also a scene where it seems like she's having an affair with a young man. And it pisses Dr. Crow off, and he throws a brick through the window. And everyone sees this. Everyone's like, what the heck? Like, what just happened? But no one saw him because he just casually walks away. But it was like he was there in plain sight and no one saw anyone. They just saw the glass break and everything. So, which is amazing because he has to be a very strong ghost to even do that. That's crazy though. But again, we don't know he's a ghost until the end of the film. There's another scene where Cole gets the lead in the play and he's watching it and he's like, smiling and everything. And Cole and him are talking, saying, oh, I guess we won't be seeing each other, will we? Well, maybe we could pretend to see each other. Because Cole enjoyed, Dr. Crow's company. Because of him, he helped them. Because he asked, I think you're supposed to help them. He goes, what if they just want to hurt people? And he goes, I don't think that's how it works. Dr. Crow says, I don't think that's how it works. I don't think that's how it works, kiddo. I think they want you to help them. Otherwise, they wouldn't be coming to you to help. You know what I mean? So, and you see people walking past them as if they're talking. So you would think, oh, he's in the physical world. He's of the world of the living. So you think that and like, okay, cool. There's also another scene where, like the scene where he was going to visit Kara's funeral. People were on the train with them, and he was sitting next to Dr. Crow. Like, this was, nothing new. And after Cole gets the chest, which has the VHS tape inside, Dr. Crow's right behind him, telling the father, hey, I'm a friend of Kara's. She told me to give this to you if anything was to happen to her. Here you are. And so, when they're watching the tape, Cole's outside with the sister and gave a doll that Kara wanted to give to the sister, and the little girl asks, is Kara coming back? And, Cole says, no, I'm afraid she's not, but don't worry, she's around, things like that. And Dr. Crow is right there watching them, as if he's there, Yeah, so there's like a lot of scenes that look like you would think that he was not dead. That he was in fact in the room, like he was interacting with these people. That's the crazy part of this film. This is why it's one of my favorite films. Because even though, despite knowing what happens, it's still intriguing and still mind-boggling that even though you already know what happens, it's still mind-boggling that the way it was executed and the way the interactions were, you wouldn't know better. Which Director Chalamet, did it purposely, so you would never know until the very end. Most directors don't do that. It's already like midway through, you've already had the clues and you go, oh, he's a ghost. No, it's not until the very end where he finds out, oh, I'm dead, but I came here so I had unfinished business. That's the only reason, which is still cool though. Yeah, it's like, and also a main thing was in the church when he first meets, Cole is in the church, and they're talking because he sees him. And he's like, "What are you doing, kid?" They talk for a little bit, things like that. And there's people going in and out of the doors, the back of the church or behind the altar and things like that. And they look down, and it just seems normal. And then after the end of the scene, like Cole leaves and he takes one of the statues of the saints in the way of, which you later find out he thought it would protect him. But yeah, like I said, it's a good film. It's a sad film, but it's a good film. Like I said, it's one of my favorite M. Night Shyamalan movies. Yeah, that and Signs and The Village. The Village was my favorite. Is more like a hard favorite of the M. Night Shyamalan movies. Yeah, but like I said, Sixth Sense is one of my favorite movies. But if I had to choose between all of the M. Night Shyamalan movies, The Village would have gotten me. Because The Village reminded me a lot of a book. I believe the book was called Running Out of Time. And like The Village, she was raised to believe that she was living in a certain time period. But unfortunately, because a lot of the people were sort of were brainwashed to say, we live here, a certain sickness came to play called diphtheria. And she was selected by the mom, so hey, you need to go get the medicines, they're going to come back. And unfortunately, something happened to a point where she gets diphtheria herself. And the truth comes out and things like that. So it reminded me a lot of that movie, of that book, The Village, which I was half right because it was just like, what if it's this? And lo and behold, like, what? But it was done nicely. But then again, in that movie it starred Joaquin Phoenix, Bryce Howard, William Hurt, Sigourney Weaver, Adrian Brody, a lot of good actors there. But yeah, I will be doing another video on Signs, but it will be slightly different. But another video on the movie Signs, which is also an M. Night Shyamalan movie. But yeah, I have to give you my take on The Sixth Sense because I truly do feel that I mean, if it was your first time watching it, you would think the same thing, like, wow, really? And I think that's why that movie did so well, because of the way it was executed and the way it made it look like Bruce Willis's character was interacting with everyone. In some shape or form, he was interacting with everyone. And I think that's why it worked so well. I think that's why it was a hit in the box office, talk about the last movie of the millennium. the last year of the 90s, it was released and it was a huge hit. And Bruce Willis had hair back then, or may have been a wig. Who knows? He still looks good either way. It's unfortunate that he's no longer making movies, but the reason behind it is more than understandable. At least that is for me. So, yeah. So like, subscribe, favorite, share, comment below what you think, what your thoughts are. Yeah, Sixth Sense was a hit.